one of the things that's really scary, I think you all agree, is what we now know as the administrative state, the deep state. These are people who are unelected, but they're deep in a bureaucracy. Their spiritual forefathers are the 20,000 people at ancient Athens that were involved in some way with the government of that democracy, first bureaucracy. The word bureaucracy, remember, comes from bureau in French, the desk people, the desk bound that came after the revolution. Byzantine, it's a Byzantine system. The huge government class of 30 to 40,000 at Constantinople under Justinian. The Escorial, the Spanish Empire's class. People who really ran the French Empire and the old regime in France were not the Louis of various numbers, they were the bureaucrats at Versailles. Kings came and went and they stayed the same. That's what we have. And they are judge, jury, and executioner. Where your Lois Lerner, nobody elected her, nobody should have given her the power to tell which particular nonprofit group gets to get nonprofit status depending on their political views. So if somebody applies and they have the word liberty in their application, then they're likely not to vote for Barack Obama. They do not get nonprofit status. Nobody voted for Anthony Fauci and the CDC. Where did we come up with the idea that the CDC could adjudicate whether you, a landlord, can collect rent from somebody who's living in your property? And yet that's what we're living under as I speak. Perhaps the locus clacus was the Mueller investigation. $40 million, 22 months, the dream team, the all-stars, the killer squad, we were told, of these Ivy League lawyers. And what did we end up with? We ended up with two public servants, both unelected, Robert Mueller going before Congress under oath when it was all said and done, and they asked him two questions. The font of this entire farce was Christopher Steele's dossier. You remember that? He admitted in British court that he had no sources, made it up. And the second font was Glenn Simpson and the Fusion GPS that paid Steele and then passed it off through the government. And Mueller was asked directly, would you comment on the Christopher Steele dossier and Fusion GPS? Remember what he said?
When you talk about the firm that produced the Steele reporting, the name of the firm that produced that was Fusion GPS. Is that correct?
Well, I'm not familiar with that.
Let me just help. It was. It's not a trick question. Right? It was Fusion GPS. Now, Fusion GPS produced the opposition research document widely known as the Steele dossier. And the owner of Fusion GPA was someone named Glenn Simpson. Are you familiar with?
This is outside my purview.
Okay.
I have no knowledge of either one. What are they? What are they? You just spent $40 million using their evidence to go after people in a political campaign to destroy their civil liberties. The second thing that kind of epitomizes it was James Comey, unelected FBI leader, supposedly sterling character. He got under oath in the Congress, House of Representatives. He was asked questions about the investigation, his leaking of memos, his role with a forged affidavit. He said 245 times under oath, I don't know or I don't remember. Try that with the IRS and see what happens. And so I could go on, but we are creating unaccountable bureaucrats and functionaries that have combined the judicial, the executive, and the legislative branch into one person, and they have enormous resources. Out in California, if you're a farmer and you have a low spot in your land and a federal EPA official decides that he doesn't like you or he thinks that could have a high nitrogen, he can declare that an inland waterway and reinterpret the EPA Act and fine you until you come out without your permission and test your water. Why? I can't think of a reason other than he can. He can, and that's why he does it.